Okay, yeah, I'm not going to deny men are physically stronger. That's just a thing. But then, you were saying how, women have to use their brain because they got to make up for what they lack in strength, right? Mm-hmm. So then who's to say that the brains can't be used in situations in the military as well?
Well, that would be a great point as well, except for this thing called greater male variability, which if you look at, you can look at a number of different metrics. I was just on Timcast and we were talking about grip strength as an example,
I saw that.
But you can do it with IQ, you can do it with all different measures of aptitude. And what we see is that women tend to cluster around the mean more than men. And there's this small percentage of men and in anything that are so much better at everybody else that it's like not even close. So as a woman, if you're trying to be a CEO, a general in the military, a strategist in the military, trying to be a police officer, a detective, anything like that, you're going to have to compete with this tiny top tier of men that is going to be so far ahead of you that the odds of you beating them are very, very small, which is why even after 100 years of equality, we don't see a lot of women at the top of these highly competitive pursuits, like being a CEO, like being a 4-star general in the military, like being the president, things like that. So it's one of the differences that makes it really tough for women to compete. So even if you're very smart for a woman, you may not be able to compete with that top tier of men. Statistically.
Like that. So you're saying men are just naturally smarter?
Well,
I'm
you
saying
mentioned
that
the
the
variability
top,
thing,
yes,
right? Nick, can you pull that up? We'll just look at it. So there's this, this is like, Nick, can you make it smaller, please? Yeah. And then I'm also going to find you just the article. Hold on. I'm sending that to you in private chat. Pull that up, please. Get it quick if you can. So it's this idea that I think isn't it even the case that women are on average smarter?
Yes.
Or is it?
There's more of us that are in that middle gathering around the mean.
So I'll read this really quick. Okay.
But the men who are smartest are way ahead. Generally.
The variability hypothesis, also known as the greater male variability hypothesis, is the hypothesis that males generally display greater variability in traits than females. Pull that one back up, Nick. The chart. Just click on it. Yeah. Okay. So basically, what they're saying is that there's more stupid men. There's there's a lot more dumb men.
Sure.
But there's also a greater proportion of really, really smart men.
Okay.
But then there's more women who are in the middle.
Right.
Okay, then that kind of goes back to my point, though. Then if there's more women in the middle, then what's the harm then of actually? Because that means we're having greater odds of having smart women than we are. We're risking more by having a.
I'm not saying smart women
IQ.
can't do smart girl things. I'm a smart woman who does smart girl things.
Clearly.
But when we're talking about who should be at the apex of society running things, generally men are going to have the monopoly on force, strength, cognitive skills, leadership skills, social skills. They're just that top bit of men are going to be so far ahead.
Okay, but going back to your point then how does that affect the draft? Because that's not the top tier. That draft is
the draft is just you have to be physically capable, and you
sure.
are a tiny girl.
I know.
If you had to jump in tomorrow and do the PT prescriptions that men have when
literally
they
have
join
a
the
booster
military,
seat.
Yeah, you could do it. And I'm a really strong girl. I've done powerlifting and weightlifting for years. I've got a 250-pound for 5 reps deadlift right now. I've got a 200-pound squat. But you put me next to a man who's my size that doesn't even train, and he's going to whoop my ass.
But for example, what if there's an emergency situation, when you're out in the field, I think I'm okay to say this, the more likely to see a man just kind of brute his way through it rather than how can we problem solve this so nobody gets more injured or in a less risky situation, I should say. So
you think that on average women are more strategic than
No,
men,
I'm not saying strategic, but I mean if we're looking at the mean average of the brain kind of thing, sorry, then wouldn't it be fair to say that they're gonna be more able to look at those situations better than the average we're seeing based off the graph you gave us?
I'm not really sure what you're asking.
So, in those risky situations, then if the mean average is that, you know, the women are gonna overall have a decent IQ, then they'd be more likely to handle those risky situations where we really need to think about it than, say, the average we're going to find.
That's not really how it works. And when you're entering the military, they test you.
Sure, I know
so
that.
If you're below a certain IQ, you're not going to be in the field doing certain things for
Yes.
that
Are you
reason.
saying
I know.
that we assess risk differently?
Right.
And men do not take as much time to assess those risks, and they
Right.
just jump right in.
Well,
Yeah.
women are more risk averse, but usually in a military situation, that's going to be bad.
Well, yes. No, you want to be on your toes because, of course, you know, you never know what's going to happen.
Women are very conflict avoidant, and on average, they don't want to be in the military.
Well,
for that
well,
reason.
here's the thing then. Then why is there a problem having an equal amount, like an equal opportunity for drafting men and drafting women then? So that means we're having equal risk takers and equal, maybe not risk takers. Wouldn't we want that fair bit of
So
both?
what you're telling me is, all throughout human history, armies have been made of men.
right.
And now, because it's 2024 and technology, we should put all of, like, look at the table of ladies here. You all are lovely. You're probably great singers. You're beautiful. But do I want you on the front lines fighting? No, I don't.
Sure, I get that.
I see what you're saying, too.
women
Like,
yeah.
on the
So-
front lines. I'm a feminist.
So she's
Send
Brian's
them.
all for
You know what? I
equality.
think we do a total switch up. Men don't get drafted, and we just draft with the women. Use the women as meat shields for a little bit.
I'm not-
Soften the enemy up a little bit. Then the men can come in.
I'm not
and take
saying-
care
I
of
think
the,
something that's
Take care of it.
interesting-
We'll
I
take
think-
care of it. The women soften them up.
I think something that's interesting is that you're saying we have equal portions of men and women entering the military, but then what you would have to do is you would have to separate those roles once they enter the military, and then
Yeah.
then it's not equal anymore. So what is the point of doing
I
that?
do get what you're saying. Well, I mean, based off the physical stuff like we're talking about again, I think that would have to depend on the women. I mean, look at some of the women in the Olympics; they could totally do it, right?
Could they?
Yeah, I mean,
like who?
I
But
mean,
those
first
are
of all,
also outliers
Yeah,
as well.
like 1%.
I know there are outliers,
So
but
we're like, when we're talking about this kind of stuff, you have to think about in general,
Yes.
the women in general and bigger numbers.
sure.
Olympians are.
I'm not denying that. I think, if anything, if we are going to have a draft with women, we need to. I mean, we all have to go through a physical, even if we're being drafted, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, we then assess. Okay, what can we best put them to?
Well, then, like,
Then it's
most women are not going to meet the requirements. And
Well, it depends on the
remember
position.
that they've opened up all of the special forces to women for, what, 20, 30 years now? 20 years, something like that? Not a single woman has been able to pass Navy SEALs or BUDS or, like, the different Green Beret train. Women just can't do it.
Well, and going
So,
along
wait, speaking of that-
with that, I wouldn't want them to lower that standard so that women could.
They
right?
do.
No, I'm not-
No.
I'm
But
not-
here's the thing.
Oh, they have to
It
do,
is
like,
a
less
different
push-ups
standard.
and
It is a
whatnot.
different
Yeah.
standard. And this isn't just for the military. It's for police force, firefighters.
Yeah.
So like I think for the military, you know, there's a speed test in terms of being
it's a
able to
lie.
complete
None of it
a
is really
mile or I don't know
Right.
how long.
Yeah.
It's a lie.
Push-ups.
Well, this is the thing: is
these things.
women always will say, like, we want to be equal, so you have to let us do these things. You have to, first of all, if they have to let you, it's not equal.
Right.
Second of all, if they have to lower the standard for you to get in, it's also not equal. So it's all just this illusion, this silly illusion, and I don't want to. I'm sick of it. I think that
She's sick of it.
I think that in the not so distant future, a few generations from now, they're going to look back on this feminist experiment and go, "Whoa, that was a disaster. Glad we got rid of that," because it's simply not sustainable. We can't even keep going with it because birth rates have tanked.
Right.
Right.
no.
So either
Tanked.
maybe it won't go away, and then humanity will just go extinct.
There will be a reset, and like people always ask me what I think it'll be, and I think it's going to be painful and ugly. There's like a couple ways it could go, but it's not going to be fun for anyone when it happens.
How do you
Whoever
anticipate
gets
it going?
AI first, we're in trouble. I don't know. It could be China. Who knows what happens? Okay. Sports. He's still in the chat. He mentioned the patriarchy.
He did.
Do you guys want to? This is definitely dating related. Do you guys want to smash the patriarchy? Should we smash?
I don't
Smash
even
the
understand
patriarchy.
necessarily like what we're talking about here when we say the patriarchy.
Well, so like, you know, feminism. One of the core tenets of feminism is there's the patriarchy theory. Patriarchy.
Okay.
Do you want to smash it? Should we get rid of the patriarchy?
I feel like I just don't care enough. But
Okay, cool. What about you?
I think there are certain aspects where it's just naturally going to happen, and I think there's some places where maybe there could be more leeway. That's it. That's really it.
So is there a patriarchy?
These days, I want to say just like a smidge. It really depends on where you're looking. You'd have to look. That's the thing. Yeah.
Don't be shy. I see that you want to say something, and I want you to.
oh, I was making a joke in my
chitty-chat.
head like, yeah, I want to smash the patriarchy, but not smash the patriarchy, if you know what I meant.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think that there could be some tweaks, but I don't want to end it. No.
Okay.
No, we should not get rid of the patriarchy.
No, we should not get rid of it.
I think I also don't really know what the patriarchy is that much.
Do you feel like, so when feminists talk about the patriarchy, they're usually saying there's this historic conspiracy of men to control women, to keep them under their boot, to prevent them from having power or free will or like the choice to leave or do what they want, right? There's this effort among men in general to keep women like under their foot a little bit, to keep them down. Do you feel like that's a thing?
Maybe in the past, but not so much now.
Okay.
Yeah, same. I feel like we all can pretty much do what we want, so.
Okay, question. What are we gonna do about the men that think that they can lead but they can't? We're supposed to just let them like run shit? I mean, I don't see that.
Well, can you give me an example of a man who thinks he can lead but doesn't?
So it could be like, if we're talking about the patriarchy in general, we could talk about a president. I don't want to pick one and say like what I think, but I'm not gonna say every man is gonna be great to lead and they like that's been in office.
So do you guys assume then that when we're talking about like patriarchy that all men have dominion over all women, or do we think that there's a hierarchy among men?
I can respect that.
Yeah. And I think one thing that feminism did unintentionally that's been really destructive for everybody is it destroyed that hierarchy among men. And now what you have, because you used to have the like more alpha type of men
We used to.
keeping down the like beta cuck type of like, you know, the gamma type of males who are just jealous and resentful, and they think that they're like, I should be having a girlfriend, she should like me, but she only likes that 6 foot tall football player, and I'm gonna show her, you know, those type
Like
of guys.
a girl, basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
They used to bully those guys into their proper place.
I love that. We need to bring it back.
Yeah, keep them kind of like where they need to be, keep them in line a little bit. But what feminism and egalitarianism did was kind of like take that away. So now you do have these feminine, by the way, feminist men, okay? All they're trying to do is what?
Get women.
Yeah, they're just they're trying to fuck,
Yeah,
right? So
pretty much.
they're not honest dudes. They're not gonna be leaders. They're gonna be shitheads. They're gonna be impersonators. They're gonna be the kind of dudes that you don't want. And it used to be that you had to compete for a wife. You know, back in the day, like you had to prove to a man that you could support his daughter, that you could take care of her, that you were worthy of marrying her. Now we all just like go for the guy who like we all pick the wrong dudes, right? Very often we pick the wrong guy because some of them have adapted and figured out how to manipulate and sneak their way in, and like the guy who you friend zoned forever, and then the minute you break up with your boyfriend, he's like right there with a bottle of wine and like, oh honey, you know, like he's trying to use what he can to get what he wants. So like they act like females, they act sneaky, and they use manipulation and subterfuge and gossip and things like that to get girls. And so we end up with these dudes, right?